Hey everybody, come on in. It's Conspiracy Theories and Chill, YouTube exclusive. We are now going to be doing more for YouTube because Facebook done shut me down completely. It's over for me on Facebook. So we're going to hang out on YouTube and do a Conspiracy Theories and Chill. I love this show. It's my favorite. This is my baby. And we are going to talk about a few things tonight. One of the things I want to get out and get to is some of the recent videos that we've done on the channel. We did a video on Lucius Trust. Now, a lot of people aren't aware, but Lucius Trust is an actual Luciferian organization, openly Luciferian organization, that runs out of the United Nations. Currently, to this day even, runs out of the United Nations, operates out of the United Nations, has heavy influence in the United Nations. We did a video on them exposing it. So look into that right here on the YouTube channel. Lucius Trust Exposed is the name of the video. Then we also just did a talk about Mandela effects and CERN and how I believe they're connected. And I get into why I believe that. But check that out too. That's interesting. But the thing I want to talk about the most tonight, and at least at first, until we can get into anything you guys want, and we always do. So comment in the comment section anything you want to talk about. We can cover any conspiracy at all. I'm pretty well versed, but what I want to get into the most is Jeffrey Epstein and how we all know that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, but it doesn't seem to matter. And I would love to hear anybody's opinion on why you think that doesn't matter, And I am posting this out as much as I can. I can't share to Facebook at all, but I can tweet. Or not tweet. This is Reddit, actually. I can't tweet. I'm banned from Twitter as well. Banned from Periscope, banned from Twitter, and throttled on Facebook. I'm not outright banned on Facebook. I've never been in Facebook jail. And let me finish sharing this. You have to type a submission statement on Reddit. And let me get that out. And it's got to be 2 sentences long, and you got to say why you shared it. Otherwise, they will pull you with a quickness, and they do it very fast. So I shared this out, but we're going to talk about Jeffrey Epstein and why, when everybody is pretty well aware that Jeffrey Epstein didn't commit suicide. I think most people are aware that Jeffrey Epstein didn't commit suicide. There was forensics done on the body, and the signs point to death by strangulation, homicide, not suicide. They say he hung himself from a 4-foot bunk bed, and the damage to his neck, the fractures in his neck in the autopsy are consistent with homicide, with violent strangulation. So there was no suicide in that prison cell. And most people are aware of that. I'm seeing a lot of memes, a lot of people sharing and talking about how nobody believes that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. But isn't it funny how the story just goes away? The media stops talking about it. People stop focusing on it because the media stops talking about it. But why did the media stop talking about it? It maybe have anything to do with the people that were connected to Jeffrey Epstein? There were some very powerful, rich and powerful people connected to Jeffrey Epstein. very close with Jeffrey Epstein, flew with Jeffrey Epstein all the time on his Lolita Express. That's what his little plane was called. And everyone knew it. I knew it. I'm just a regular guy from Missouri. I live in the middle of cornfields in rural Missouri. Just a student of history and keep myself pretty well informed as I can. And I knew about the Lolita Express. I knew he had an island, a pedophile island. I knew he was a pedophile. I knew he was into young girls. Even Donald Trump, who was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein until he broke ties with him. A lot of people don't report that. Trump did break ties with him, but was his friend for a long time and had a relationship with him and even talked about how he liked young girls. They knew about this. Bill Clinton flew on that plane over 20 times. Ditched the Secret Service to fly on that plane. There were very powerful people involved in this. This ran really deep, and now it's just going away. It's all swept under the rug. There's still a madam running around that I'm fully convinced that these sex rings are still and operating. Upwards of 3 different sex rings running for the rich and elite and powerful. He was no stockbroker, investment banker. Pedophile sex ring for the elite, for the rich and powerful. He was never going to testify. That was never going to happen. There's a lot of people who theorize that he isn't even dead. I wouldn't go that far because I can't prove it, but it's not outside the realms of possibility. And isn't that crazy? That should be crazy. That should be a crazy thought. Some people may even tell me that it is, but I don't think it is. I don't think it's outside of what they're capable of or what they can do. And I don't think it's outside the realms of possibility. I don't think it can be ruled out. Have you ever been on Suicide Watch? I have. I've been on Suicide Watch. And I know prison guards, and I speak to them, and they tell me of suicide watches at a prison. I was in a hospital, in a mental institution. I'm sure everybody that watches this, that is a skeptic, is eating that up. But mental issues are a real thing, and regular people deal with them. It's a hidden threat in this world, in this country. Why do you think Joker is doing so well in theaters? It's real. So people deal with mental illness, it's common. Suicide watch in a prison is way worse than in a hospital. And in a hospital, you can't even use the bathroom by yourself. So I don't believe that he had the opportunity to commit suicide, even. And nobody saw anything, and the camera to his cell just conveniently shut off. The story doesn't hold water. It doesn't hold its weight. And no one's buying it, and I'm really glad to see that. I'm really, really glad to see that no one's buying it. That it is everyone, left, right, doesn't matter how involved they are politically or where they stand. Everyone seems to be in a general consensus that Jeffrey Epstein didn't commit suicide. So how is the media burying it? That's what we need to realize, how powerful they are. They can control the narrative. They can edit reality in real time. They have that power and that ability. And they do it. The media is a weapon, and it's used against us constantly. We are constantly under attack. We live in a matrix of lies. The average person has no idea what's actually happening. Reality is hidden from them. The reality of the situation, the reality of the world, the reality of everything is kept from them. Real news isn't reported because it's all bought up. No matter what level of the conspiracy you're willing to go down that rabbit hole wherever you're willing to go, however deep you're willing to go. It just gets uglier the more layers you pull apart. We're owned. That should be known. That should be common knowledge. Everybody should know that. That's basic. That's day one. We're owned by a handful of people, bought and paid for. Everything, resources, everything, all of it. It's bought and paid for. They own us. So just that is enough to realize that we're being controlled. And the media is owned by 6 corporations. 6 corporations own all media. So everyone should know that we're being controlled. The narrative and what gets out and what is exposed to people is being controlled and manipulated. And that's just a fact. Everybody should be on board with that. But it goes so much deeper than that. And there is so much evil in power in this world. And the way that it's staying in power is by good people looking the other way and by good people ignoring it. And one of the ways they get people to ignore it is by convincing them that it's crazy to have conspiratorial views or to question the official narrative or official story that you're presented. They want you to just accept it. Just take it in as truth. Never question it. Never open your eyes or think for yourself. That's why we don't have an education system. We have an indoctrination system. And that's why we don't have a real media. We have weaponized propaganda. And none of that's going to change until we start waking people up. Like this Epstein thing. Everyone, like I said, everyone knows. And they're joking around and making memes and talking about it on social media that Epstein didn't commit suicide. They at least know that much. So how is the media hiding it? How are they sweeping it under the rug? Because it's owned. Because it's all bought up. Because it's being controlled. Everybody needs to know and accept that, because it's a fact. We'll go way deeper because this is a conspiracy theory show. But there is evil forces running this world and in control. And they are into some dark and evil things. And Jeffrey Epstein was one of the people that supplied that world, that underbelly, with some of the things they're into. And the stuff that they're into would literally blow your mind if you don't know. The average person doesn't want to know. The average person is really happy and content living a lie. Sadly, most people don't want to know the truth. That's why they stay ignorant. This is the age of information. We all have a computer in our pocket. We're walking cyborgs. You can find out anything pretty much for yourself. At least enough to find out that you're being lied to on a massive scale. But most people don't take the time to do that. And there is an awakening happening. There is a mass awakening happening in this country, and it's exciting. And I'm glad to be alive during it. But it needs to happen faster. And it is the responsibility of the woke and the aware to wake the others. Nobody else is going to do it. No hero coming to save the day. And they're erasing the troll information and control what gets out and control what rises to the top. And they're doing a fantastic job of doing that. But we need to own this fight. We need to realize that it is a fight and that we have to wake the others. There's no point in being woke if we're not going to wake other people, if we're not going to do all we can to wake other people. And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I think a lot of us need to do. And we can make change, but we're going to have to be the ones that inform people about Epstein. And at least help the average person understand that something dark and evil is going on here and was on the cusp of being exposed. And now it's just being swept under the rug and going away. And people are acting like it's not even happening. But it is still happening. The story is still out there. It's still important. And we need to focus on it, and we need to realize that nobody else will. We're the only ones that are going to do anything about this. So if you're woke, if you're aware, if you realize that he did not commit suicide, help others see that truth. If you think he did, tell me why you think he did. Why are you ignoring the autopsy that shows signs of strangulation, violent homicide? It doesn't show signs of a suicide. Then there's the whole problem with him being over 6 foot tall and hanging himself from a 4 foot bunk bed. Why don't you have problems with this story? You know, I seriously have to ask and wonder why you don't question this story. Why you're okay with it. You know, I posted the other day to Reddit actually about Epstein and about how Epstein didn't kill himself, and I got tore apart in the comments about how, of course he did, yes he did. A lot of people don't want to be challenged. They don't want to challenge the official story. We have to think for ourselves. And I know it's discouraged. I know you're taught not to, but you need to. And you need to realize that that's all that's going to do anything to pull back the curtain, is you're going to have to pull back yourself. And we're going to have to wake people up, but we got to realize they got to be ready. You know, we can't force them awake. You can't shake anybody awake. You just plant seeds. That's why I like the memes. The memes are good. You know, I've seen a lot of these Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself memes, and they're fantastic. Humor is a really good way of getting people's defenses down. But the media was taken over in the 50s. Operation Mockingbird, that's real. That's declassified. Anybody can look that up and check it out for yourself and see if I'm lying to you that the media was taken over by the CIA. It absolutely was. This is all real. You know, a lot of conspiracies have turned out and been proven true. You're just taught to be ashamed to think about conspiracies. And then stuff is hidden in that way, like Lucis Trust. No one's aware that there's a Luciferian mural in the Security Council room of the United Nations that's uh, put there by Lucis Trust, a Luciferian organization. They also have a meditation room at the United Nations. They have a heavy presence there. Their philosophy has even been adopted. And their philosophy is quite interesting, and we get into that in the Lucis Trust video, so check that out. But anything you guys want to talk about at all, we can get into. This is a comment-driven show. So I talked about Epstein and how that's important. We need to keep spreading awareness and lock in on this Epstein didn't kill himself, and how most people are accepting that, or even willing to accept that, and there's proof that he didn't kill himself. And I'm honestly afraid for this pathologist that did the forensic research that proves that he didn't kill himself. But if you think he did, please tell me why you think that. But the evidence all points to homicide, if he's even dead. There's a lot of people, like I said, that believe that he's not even dead. And that's not that crazy. It's not a crazy idea, and it's not impossible. It's not outside the realms of possibility. And that's messed up, but it's true. Let me know what you guys want to get into. And until I see some comments, we'll talk more about things that are happening right now, like Julian Assange. You know, you want to talk about a conspiracy. There's a conspiracy to get people to believe that Julian Assange is some kind of a super spy, super villain from a Bond film. He is a journalist that is being persecuted and sitting in a prison cell meant for terrorists because he has put out truth, and put out truth that is dangerous and has harmed very rich and powerful people. That is why he's being persecuted. And WikiLeaks is a publisher. They publish information. and have a flawless track record of publishing reliable information. They are not a Russian organization. That is all conspiracy. That's the real conspiracy, is the lies being spread about what WikiLeaks even is, who Julian Assange even is. There are American citizens that sadly enough are running around this world right now believing that Julian Assange is a Russian asset. It's ridiculous. It's so sad what is happening in this society, and we need to take ownership of it and realize that if we want to stop it, we've got to do something about it. And we have to stand up for things like Julian Assange and organizations like WikiLeaks, or the truth will be killed off and destroyed. It won't exist anymore. There will be no more of it. We've got to fight for it. We're heading towards a dystopian nightmare, the kind of future that I don't want to live in, that I don't want any part of. So, as the woke and the aware, we need to wake the others. And these are fantastic opportunities to do that, by the way. You have a very public suicide in a prison cell that has been proven to be a homicide. Very good opportunity there. Not to mention the massive story that's being hidden and covered up in the process. There's tons there. Or WikiLeaks and Julian Assange and the persecution of Julian Assange right now. These are both very important fights for the truth and for anybody who's interested in spreading the truth and waking people up. That's what we need to do right now. So, what I just gave you, two very, very important things that are conspiracy related and truth related and happening right now. So, you want to make a difference, I think you latch on to these opportunities to make the most and spread this information. Make the most of this opportunity. Because the victims that are being victimized to this day, probably still in that same sex operation, that same sex ring operation, but in others just like it, which there are many. This stuff is all going on, and it's only being allowed to continue because we look the other way and we don't focus and shine a light on it. So don't let that happen. Do all you can to spread awareness and help everybody to spread this pathology report. They did a autopsy on Jeffrey Epstein, and they have proven that his injuries are not consistent with a suicide. So Jeffrey Epstein did not commit suicide. Everybody needs to know that. And Julian Assange is not a super spy. Everybody needs to know that. WikiLeaks is a publisher and Julian Assange is a journalist, what journalists are supposed to be. And we better protect him, or there will be no such thing as journalism soon. It will all die off and all go away. We got to spread the truth. The media won't do it. The media is weaponized propaganda. So, this little show is my attempt at spreading truth and getting truth out there. And I hope it grows. And it was doing pretty well on Facebook, but Facebook has shut me down. So now we'll start over. We'll start over here on YouTube and build our following here and other sites and other platforms. If you know of any good ones, let me know. But anything you guys want to get into, this is usually an interactive show and I work off the comments. So any conspiracies you want to talk about, comment. Let me know. Anything at all. And we can get into it. We've been talking about Epstein and we've been talking about a little bit about Julian Assange and WikiLeaks just because I think it's another very important issue happening right now that we should be focusing on. A good opportunity for us to bring truth to what's going on. And what's going on is an attack on reality, and what's really happening in the world is being attacked, and censorship has been corporatized, and it's companies doing it. So people are turning a blind eye, but truth is being wiped out. And in stories like the Epstein murder, at best, faked suicide at worst are being suppressed and hidden. And even though it's common knowledge and everybody's joking around about it, Epstein didn't kill himself in these memes and all over social media. The story has just gone away. And the only thing that's going to bring any focus to it is us. So do all you can to spread the truth and to raise awareness and to get all that out there. And that's our job. You know, we can't just be woke and run around talking about how cool it is to be woke and aware. It's not cool if we're just watching the world burn around us. We got to do all we can to spread the truth. So thanks for hanging out with us. This has been Conspiracy Theories and Chill Live. And we'll do this another time. We'll do this another time and start doing this regularly on YouTube. I think I'm going to focus a little heavier on YouTube. So thanks for hanging out with us. And